All right, welcome to online classroom. This is human anatomy and physiology. We will be continuing our discussion with the digestive system. We'll be looking at the accessory organs, mainly covering the pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. We have already covered the salivary glands and the teeth in our previous note session, that going back over part one. So we had covered the salivary glands and the teeth, so you can catch those notes back on part one. I believe it was the lower or the upper part of the digestive system, the one where the coughing attack started. So we'll be looking into the pancreas, the liver, and the gallbladder and how it is related to that of the digestive system. So first up, the pancreas. Here you have what this looks like. Yes, it looks like a corn on the cob. So that maybe that's how you will remember it. But it's going to provide digestive enzymes and buffers to neutralize the chyme. The chyme is that solution, the food and everything pretty much in the stomach. So that's all going to, from the stomach, it's going to flow out into the duodenum where the pancreas is going to empty. So it's going to secrete. Okay, and what it's going to secrete here is pretty important that we will talk here later next lecture with nutrients or nutrition. Carbohydrates, lipases, proteases, nucleases, all this is enzymes that break down carbohydrates, lipids or fats, proteins, and nucleic acids. So it's going to do a lot of chemical digestion. So it is secreting these enzymes that will end up breaking it down. Okay, protease here is going to account for about 70% of all pancreatic enzymes. Okay, that being trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidase, if to be exact. So that's making up the majority of it. Like I said earlier, proteins are a little bit more complex in structure, so it's going to take a little bit more for them to in order to break down. So the hydrochloric acid of the stomach acid is going to help denature them, break them down, and then proteases are going to help with that. Next being the liver. Okay, you have two lobes here of the liver. For the most part, that you can see in a anatomical position. You're actually going to have four total lobes of it. This large portion here and the left portion here. Anterior view, so this is an anatomical position. This is the underside of it. So this is what this will look like. Okay, it accounts for about 2.5% of your body weight. So it is a very dense organ. Okay, and cells of the liver are called hepatocytes. Hepato meaning liver, cytes being cells. So they're going to have a very unique structure. They almost look like bone cells, but they're going to be hexagonal, meaning in a hexagon, with a lot of blood. A lot of blood going into the liver. Okay, so it extracts absorbed nutrients or toxins from the blood. Reason being there's a lot of blood is it's pretty much filtering that out. And it's going to monitor and adjust circulating levels of organic nutrients. So not only is it filtering, but it's also monitoring it as well. You have three functions. Metabolic regulation, pretty much breaking down of foods. It's going to stimulate and control that process. Hematological regulation, that's going into this idea here of being able to monitor and filter the toxins and nutrients out of the blood. But also it produces bile. Bile is a chemical that is going to be secreted to help break down fiber. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we look into the gallbladder because that's the more of the function of the gallbladder. So looking here, these are the sites here, kind of square, hexagonal sites. So you see here a lot of blood, a lot of lymph, a lot of vessels in here, which makes sense if it is trying to filter the blood out. So you do get a lot of blood from the liver. Now, as far as the liver functions, there's a lot. Okay, it removes potentially toxic byproducts of certain medications. That's why taking a lot of medications is hard on the liver. You look at autopsies and biopsies and things like that. You can tell a lot if the person's heavy medications, drinking, and things like that because the liver is actually kind of darkened and gray and deposited a lot of toxins. Metabolizes or breaks down nutrients from food to produce energy when needed. So it is used in metabolism, energy production. Helps your body fight infection by removing bacteria from the blood. Once again, filtering the blood. So you have bacteria in your blood. It'll help fight infection. Produces most of the substances that regulate blood clotting. So it produces your clotting proteins and things like that that are needed for blood clotting. Produce bile, a compound needed to digest fats and to absorb A, D, E, and K. These are your fat soluble vitamins here, all A, D, E, and K. So not only does it produce uh, bile, okay, but that bile is going to be used to digest fat and therefore absorb these vitamins here that are important. Now be careful, you can OD on vitamins, and being these vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and K. Because they store in your fats, if you get too much of them, and it has to be an extraordinary amount, but it is possible. Produces most proteins needed by the body. It's going to produce a lot of proteins. Prevents shortages of nutrients by storing vitamins, minerals, and sugar. So in the glucose or in the glycogen, insulin kind of negative feedback system, your body will uptake glucose. You'll eat it, break it down into sugar, and then you will send hormones such as insulin, and that will tell your liver as well as your muscles to take in that sugar. Okay, so then you will store it in here as well. And the gallbladder. Finally, the gallbladder will store and concentrate bile before secretion. So it's made in the liver, stored in the gallbladder. This is going to sit behind the liver, and it joins the hepatic duct into the small intestine. So I want to go back and show you kind of what this hepatic duct here is. If you see this opening here, okay, this is your small intestine. This is your duodenum. This part here is your stomach. Your stomach's going to sit right here, and that's right underneath the liver here. But you have the gallbladder, the pancreas, and the liver all joining and all secreting into this single part here. Now, problem here that can happen, you hear of what are called gallstones or gallbladder stones. Okay, and that's pretty much, if you look here, is you get these calcifications of these of bile pretty much that will go through this here. This is this shared structure here with the pancreas and the liver, and if you get structure here, everything secretes into that area there, so it can be quite dangerous. Okay, you have the cystic duct, which is by itself, the gallbladder here, but then you have what is called the common duct, and that is the hepatic duct, being the liver, pancreas, and gallbladder all joining in at this same place. Okay, so yeah, those are the accessory. Remember, we already covered the teeth, okay, and the salivary glands. The teeth are going to be used for ingestion, meaning taking it into the body, and as well as mechanical digestion, breaking the food apart mechanically by chewing. And then salivary glands are going to secrete saliva, which is mainly water, but also has enzymes in there that are going to help break down. So you have chemical digestion happening in the mouth as you are chewing, and it's going to pretty much lubricate the food, the bolus, so that way it can move through there. So to sum up kind of what your accessory organs are, pancreas, it's going to help break down the macronutrients. The liver is going to deal with more micronutrients, that being of the vitamins A, D, E, and K, or what are your fat soluble vitamins, because it produces bile, which allows you to digest fat. And therefore you can now once you digest fat, the vitamins can be uptaken, and the gallbladder is going to work with the bile and with the liver and store the bile there. All right, so next on the docket will be nutrition. So now that we understand how everything gets broken down, we will learn about what does that get turned into and why is it important. So tune in.